All right, welcome episode 3 of Gold Rush on YouTube on the JTR Podcast Network. This is Mark Redmond, joined as always by my buddy Jabari Sinclair. Bari,
Eh,
uh, let's get some we got some interesting news this past few weeks belt wise, don't you think? Across,
Yeah,
I mean, we've
definitely,
had
definitely, yeah.
we've had the new belts on in WWE now. We've had a few weeks with the world title. They just debuted this new Universal title for Roman Friday. So we haven't had a chance to talk about it yet. What do you think? Improvement? Do you think it's just another cheesy belt for the
I,
company to sell
a
on the
lot of people
website?
say that it's another cheesy version of what they've had going, but I mean, I like it.
Yeah, I'll say, let's see if we can get a picture of it up here because I mean I like it because it pops a little bit more. It's with
Exactly with
the
the
version
with
on
the gold on
the version
gold.
on the
Yeah,
yeah the one on shop that version looks like it's really kind of shittily done, but the one that Hunter brought out on TV last week was sharp, I thought.
yeah, it
I mean,
was.
and that's the thing. Whenever you're going to get the replicas, it's always going to be a little bit underwhelming by comparison. But here's the one that, look at that. Just the way the light's
Yeah,
bouncing off the gold there. I think it looks sharp.
yeah, that is sharp. That's sharp as hell right there. And then how about no Velcro?
Yeah, there was no Velcro. Was there Velcro on? I know they had the snaps on the outside, but it might have
I
the
don't think
Velcro on
they.
the inside still.
Maybe so, maybe so. Yeah. As far as I've
But
seen, no Velcro. How about that?
yeah, I mean, it's like we've said before. We like when at least there's the illusion of snaps on the belt. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, but yeah, I think it's definitely an upgrade. I like that it's just one belt again. It's not Roman lugging around two.
Yeah,
Uh, Especially
they can
since
take those
there's
back to the
this world,
warehouse now.
right? Or I'd say just let Roman put him in his trophy case, put him up in his house or something, you
Exactly.
know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's like the world title. Now that that's on Raw, there's no point having two on SmackDown. A lot of people were complaining the design because it's got the big logo in the middle of it. That's no different than what any other company's doing with their belts. Even Ring of
Ex-
Honor has
exactly.
ROH. AEW's world titles, you got their logo. I think like 7 different spots on the on the world title has the AEW logo on it.
Exactly. So yeah, that's not a big deal at
Yeah,
all. I mean, like
that's
you're
nitpicking.
representing your company. Like so, yeah, your belt's supposed to represent your company. So why not have it plastered all over the damn place?
Yeah, and you hear, I know you listen to Busted Open like I do, and whenever this comes up, Bully always brings up whenever a sports team wins like a World Series, they that's the belt they get. So they're holding up a big WWE logo on TV and parades and all that. So it just makes sense that they would do that because I mean, come on, it's free advertising, you know.
Exactly.
If there's
Exactly.
you can you can never tell me that Vince McMahon isn't a genius at marketing, despite what you might think
Yeah.
about him in general, you know.
And he's got a worldwide conglomerate. So why not showcase it when you can?
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Seriously.
And yeah, and now news is coming around. Well, news rumors that they're going to present Asuka with a new women's title tonight on SmackDown,
Right. Yeah,
which we can
yeah. I
only
seen
assume.
that.
I I can only assume Ms. Rhea would be getting a new belt on Raw too. So,
Exactly.
uh,
Yeah. And they're gonna rename him as well. So I mean that's
yeah,
exciting.
yeah, yeah. It's not going to be brand specific, so that way whenever there's another draft, this they're not going to have the same problems having to do with a big swap in the middle of the ring of
Exactly. And I like
championships.
that. I like
Yeah, me
that.
too.
And therefore they can take their titles and they can defend them anywhere too. So
Hmm.
quote unquote.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's WWE business, Bari, but we have an agenda today. Uh, we're
Exactly.
we're going to be talking about a classic, one of our favorites of all time. And doing my research, it kills me. It was only around for 5 years.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, you would have thought that it would have been around for longer just with the history behind it. But here we go. There it is. The Gold Eagle, the
God.
fifth version of the NWA United States Heavyweight Championship. Uh, Man, out of all the US, I love the WCW title that debuted after this because that looked cool. This one I think is my favorite out of all of
Yeah,
them.
this right. This one right here screams NWA.
Yeah, And because remember the one before this was the 10 pounds of silver that was around when the Dome Globe was the world title. They looked very similar, but it was silver to the gold. But after Flair brought out the big gold, it's almost like they had to upgrade the U.S. title to kind of hang with it a little bit.
Right.
And this one's not quite as big as the big gold, but it's definitely bigger than what they had before. So I think it was well represented there. And it was,
Exactly.
and they made it bigger than the TV title too.
Right. Yeah. I'm about to say it's
Because
very big and very bright.
yes, uh, and something you mentioned, and I didn't want to get into it too much with you on the chat, but you uh, said something to me today that you thought that they made this belt seem more prestigious than like the WWF did with the Intercontinental title back in the late '80s,
Hmm.
which which I agree because it definitely seemed like they made it more prestigious just in the fact that even with this belt, and we'll get into the lineage of this belt, but I think five people held this title, and like Luger held it for two long runs. Then Wyndham had it for a long. Nobody had short reigns with this outside of Dusty.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And right, and it was Dusty because Dusty booked himself in that spot.
Yeah, but he booked himself in that spot just to get Wyndham over. I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think that was the goal there was because Wyndham had just joined the Horsemen. And he was getting over as a heel, but Dusty wanted to do that just to kind of push him over the top. But we'll get into that stuff
Exactly.
later here. Uh, Talking a little bit about the belt. We talked about this guy last episode, Reggie Parks. There you see him. He's the guy that put this belt together. Uh, he did the one before this too, the 10 pounds of silver, and then obviously he did the one after that, the classic WCW belt too. Uh, Man, you can't say enough good things about his work as a
He
designer.
was an absolute genius when it came to belt making. Like, they probably would give him a concept and then he would just run with it. That's the way I imagine he worked.
I would assume so because the guy that did the first two that were like the red and the black ones that had the U.S. outline on it, that's the same guy that did the WWF World Title that like Pedro and San Martino and Superstar all had. The same
Yeah, and
guy.
they kind of look similar. Yeah, and they kind of look
Yeah,
similar.
yeah. I actually, when I was doing my research, and I told you about what I got, but I got this book last week by a guy named Dick Bourne. He's written a few books about the NWA. Specifically, this one, he has a really good one about the big gold belt, and he has another one about the Dome Globe belt that I want to get. And I'll definitely get that one before we do an episode on the Dome Globe, 10 pounds of gold. But there was a lot of really good information in this book, and it was huge for my research on this. So if you are a fan of belts, if you're a fan of just history, just go check out Dick Bourne, his books, and you won't be disappointed. It's good stuff. I got his book on the Horseman too. It's just all information and it's just good stuff. So I had to get that little cheap plug in there just because kind of save my bacon on this episode with information.
Right.
Yeah. Uh, so as far as the design goes, this is a little bit clearer. And we talked about it about the AEW title, how AEW is like in 7 different spots. Every single plate has NWA on here. All the side plates up here at the top on the main plate, and even in the where the American flag is here underneath the United States, it says National Wrestling Alliance on there too. So
Yeah, yeah, I see that. Yeah. So yeah, they're letting you know where this belt belongs and right. Yeah.
mhm. But man,
Nothing
this
wrong with
looks
that.
no, it's cool. They got the badge with the red, white, and blue on the side plates. I mean, they call it the Gold Eagle for a reason. I mean, it's right there, plain as day on that main plate there.
Yep.
But man, this is just so sharp. It, there's no words for it. I mean, you and me, we're belt nerds. There's people like us all over the place that just love the design, just even the craftsmanship. Because I mean, these are like art pieces almost. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. I mean the detail. I mean the NWA logos themselves are like unique and
Right.
it's awesome.
Yeah, they got the two guys wrestling on the smaller side plates there, and yeah, it's just like I said, just well done. Reggie Parks is just an absolute master. Dave Milliken, the guy that took over his shop, is the guy that does most of the belts nowadays, and he learned from Reggie. He learned all the tricks and everything. So I mean, the art has been passed along into good hands, So it's
Definitely.
yeah. Now, to be fair, I think the Orange County Choppers guys did the WWE World Heavyweight title, if I remember right, back when Brock won it from Cena. But
Uh-huh.
that's neither here nor there. Again, we'll do an episode on that one of these days. It was suggested we do a 10 bell salute to the Universal Championship, Bari. And I was going to, but after the news about Sheik, I was like, nah, we
See,
can't do that. So
exactly right. That nonsense can wait.
he would come back from the great beyond and put me in the camel clutch if I did that. Make me humble.
And definitely make you humble.
Yeah. All right. So this belt debuts on March 8th, '86 on World Championship Wrestling. I think it's the 6:05 Saturday show. No fanfare or anything. According to my research in this book, this was one of the ones, along with the one a couple designs before that didn't really get a big unveiling on TV, like the ones that Valentine had, or that well, not even that Harley had, because there were no pictures of Harley with the original belt after
No, there
the
wasn't. I was looking. I didn't see any. Yeah.
yeah. From what I was reading, there were two guys that didn't get a picture with the original U.S. title, and that was Harley and Funk. Everybody else at least held it long enough to get a picture made with it. Uh, but anyway, this one, Magnum brings it out on March 8th of '86. Immediately gets, and this is 4 months after the I Quit match with Tully, I think. So
Yeah.
he's on fire at this point. He's outside of Dusty, he's the hottest babyface they've got, and he comes out with this belt. Immediately gets thrown into the feud with the Koloffs,
The
Ivan
call
and
off.
Nikita.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
uh, I love the story. Here's a picture of Magnum here with it, and that's the thing. Magnum didn't hold the belt very long. This version of it, because he debuts it in March. By July, he got stripped of it because during that feud with Koloff, let's see if you remember this, the contract signing for the title match when
Yeah.
Magnum had
Yeah.
his mom with him, and Nikita starts running down his mother, so Magnum beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Then Bob Geigel comes out and strips him of the belt, says he's reprimanded, so Magnum slugged him. It's just, oh my god.
God,
And
Terry Allen.
yeah, Terry Allen. Really fun social media follow too. I follow him on Facebook. I'll admit I've tried to get him on the podcast. He hasn't responded. He's a busy guy. I mean,
Busy guy. Exactly.
I'm just a jabroni that runs a podcast. But
Exactly.
look at this face off here. Nikita and Magnum. This I don't know what show this is from. I'm assuming this is from the Best of Seven, one of those matches.
Yeah. I'd assume so. Probably in Greensboro. From what it looks
I would
like.
I would imagine. Yeah, I think you're right. But then look at that. You got Uncle Ivan there in the corner with his big old head.
Good
Man,
times.
man, Nikita was barely 2 years in the business at this point.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And
Even
he was fucking jacked, and he was great in the ring, and definitely a diamond in the rough.
yeah. And the thing is, he didn't really do training. He was just a bouncer in Minnesota that knew the Road Warriors, and they brought him down
Exactly.
and put him with Ivan. Everything
Yeah.
he learned from Ivan Koloff, basically on the road,
Exactly.
which is crazy. But I mean, if you're going to learn from somebody, Ivan's one of the best. Especially how to
Yeah.
be that nasty foreign heel. And in the '80s, and you and I, we're old enough to remember back in the '80s, Russian heels were the worst of the worst in
They were
wrestling.
the absolute worst.
It's like every every era has their foreign heel that they hate. Like after, like in the '50s and '60s was the Japanese because
The
World War
Japanese.
II and
Yep.
everything. Then even we were talking about the Iron Sheik in the early '80s with the hostage crisis and everything like that. Everybody hated Iran here, and Sheik just went balls out with that. Just going with just go full tilt with that Iron Sheik gimmick and made people hate him even more.
Made him hate him, and he made a whole lot of money.
Oh yeah, and But just for a Sheik, we'll talk more about Sheik on Tuesday on the Jumping the Rail podcast. We're going to do a whole episode on Sheik, so we're going to really give him his flowers there. So yeah, so Magnum gets stripped. They put him in the best of seven with Nikita. Nikita winds up winning there. Here you see him. Look at that face. And he was the first guy to really get a long run with this. He actually held it from shoot. Hang on, let me check my research here. I'm going to get the exact date down, but
Go ahead.
he held it from '86 and let me see. He won the best of seven on August 17th, 1986, which is actually my brother's seventh birthday
Ah,
on that day. So he held it from then until he dropped it in, let's see, July of '87. So a little, almost a year he held that
oh
title.
yeah, that's a nice lengthy title run. Yeah.
Yeah. And add to that, also he unified the national championship with it in September of '86. Him and Wahoo.
Oh,
So
okay.
that was back when Georgia got kind of absorbed into Crockett. So they put all
Crockett.
like that national tag team championships and national champion. They put them with like the U.S. title and the U.S. tag titles and everything. But yeah, so about 11 months, I would say, give or take, with that title before he dropped it to Luger. That he went on, that Nikita went on his own with the TV title. But yeah, he was dominant, and also, I mean, everybody says greatest babyface turn in the history of the NWA was Nikita when he joined up with Dusty.
Very
Because
true.
you've seen that video, haven't you? Of Nikita when he goes into the cage with Dusty to take on the Horseman.
Yeah.
It's because you could tell the crowd didn't know what to think because they thought maybe he was coming to attack Dusty from behind.
Right, exactly.
But he jumped in the ring and just beat the shit out of JJ. Beat up on
The damn
I think
and the
it was
damn roof came off the place.
yeah, because it was JJ and Oli, I think, was the opposition in that match. And yeah, it was just basically they ran Oli out of the cage and then double teamed JJ and got a big pop. Uh, so yeah, then he gets his shot with Flair at Starrcade. Didn't defend the title, the U.S. title at Starrcade, but got that big exposure with it. And then we mentioned it. Then July of '87. Look at that guy,
No God.
fully
Flex your
packaged.
legs.
Man, everybody always kind of gave Lex shit about his work. When I was when he was with the Horsemen, I was about 6 years old, give or take. I thought this guy was Superman. I thought he was awesome because he was huge. He
Yeah,
had big muscles.
same here. First time seeing him, I was like, who in the hell is he and why am I just now seeing Lex Luger? Like, yeah, I
Right.
definitely remember that.
And
He was
yeah,
young
so
and
he
he was
holds up.
built like a fucking horse.
Yeah, and smart too. He was, I think, the first guy to get like a guaranteed contract because he had an agent
Hmm.
when most of the wrestlers didn't have an agent back then. But that was the whole thing. He was with the Horsemen when he beat Nikita, and everybody in the Horsemen had gold, so he had to get his, and he got that U.S. title. And
Exactly.
he didn't defend it. Oh, I mean, he defended it plenty, I suppose, but he only held the belt for about 3 months. His first run,
But yeah,
because he
first
held it
run, yeah.
up. Yeah, because he held it up through Starrcade. Dropped it. And we mentioned it. Dropped it to Dusty Rhodes in the cage,
Dream, baby.
which yep. Did it in Chicago. I think the crowd they were hot for Dusty, but if it was in the Carolinas, it would have blown the roof off if he would have done something to the Horsemen there. Uh, Similar to Magnum, actually involving Magnum. Do you remember when Dusty got stripped of the U.S. title?
I do, but I don't. Again, I was looking for a lot of footage and a lot of things I didn't find. So enlighten
Yeah,
us, Brad, please.
that's so Magnum had obviously retired by this point. He had that car accident, so he couldn't wrestle again. But he was still making appearances, like doing interviews, and he was out on TV. Uh, he was able to walk with assistance from a cane. He wasn't in the wheelchair anymore. But his old buddy Tully came out and jumped on him, beat him up a little bit. So Dusty came running out of the back with a baseball bat, tried to take Tully's head off. Tully runs
Okay,
out,
okay, yeah.
and but like officials, and I think Jim Crockett. Yeah, Jim Crockett came out. They're trying to calm Dusty down. Dusty accidentally hit Jim Crockett with the bat, which is big no-no. Don't hit the boss with the baseball bat.
No, yeah, you might not want to hit your boss with the bat.
No, no, no. And so, and I guess they had ruled they had to strip him of the title, even though they felt he was justified in defending Magnum. And they wound up stripping the belt of him. They suspended him, and then that's when we got the return of the Midnight Rider in
Yeah,
'88.
okay. Yeah, yeah.
Because he hadn't brought that out in the Carolinas. That was a Florida gimmick that he had in the late '70s. And yeah, so he brought the Midnight Rider out to go to war with the Horsemen, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, do you remember when Dusty and Magnum were teaming up as the James Gang
The James Gang, yeah.
when they were under the hoods with the Midnight Express? That might be the same mask. So I mean, come on, it's. I mean,
He
I
wasn't
know
very
back then.
creative. He wasn't
No,
very
back then,
creative.
if we were older back then, we would have caught on to that, Bari. He's like, wait a minute. I mean,
Exactly.
it's not. I mean, it's not like we didn't know the Midnight Rider was Dusty Rhodes. I mean, he had the same physique, the same. He cut the exact same promo.
Exactly. I'm about to say, Dusty Rhodes is one of a kind no matter what he does. So,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. So the Midnight Rider comes out and he's going after the Horsemen. But while he's doing that, we got a vacant U.S. championship to deal with. So they do a tournament, and let me see. The cool thing about this book. They actually have the field of all the, like, whenever the title went vacant, they would have the tournament. They actually have all of the
Mhm.
results in this book.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so this tournament happens. Let me see if I get a date here. Here, May 13th, 1988, in Houston, they do a tournament for the U.S. title. Uh, so the first round, Al Perez, there's a blast from the past. Remember that guy?
I remember that guy.
Supposed to be the Black Scorpion, as I understand it. Uh, he and Luger went to a double countout. Wyndham beat the Midnight Rider in the first round. Nikita Koloff beat Ivan Koloff, which actually is a match I've always wanted to see. I never
Yeah,
got to actually see those two on a show. It was always tag matches. And then Tully had a bye, I guess, because he was a former champion.
makes
Uh,
sense.
yeah, although you would think that'd give Nikita and Luger a bye too, but that's neither here nor there. Uh, because Perez and Luger went to a double countout, Wyndham got a bye to the finals. Then Nikita beat Tully, and then Wyndham beat Nikita to win the championship in Houston. Yeah, so that's it. It's yeah, they have all kinds of stuff. Three former champions in the tournament: Tully, Nikita, and Luger. Uh, this is what it says in the book. The previous champion, Dusty Rhodes, was involved but did not compete. Finger quotes. Dusty accompanied Nikita to the ring for the second round in the finals in the tournament after Midnight Rider had conveniently went home. And apparently, this is when we need to look for, Bari. The entire tournament aired later on Paul Bosch's exclusive TV show in the Houston market. So there's got to be video of this somewhere.
Oh yeah, definitely there is, and right, and it's Paul Bosch's Houston, so I definitely want to see it.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, here we go. The Midnight Rider was actually the Italian Stallion under a mask in this tournament. Because
Okay.
after Wyndham beat the Midnight Rider, he took his mask off and wanted to expose Dusty to get him banned, but it wasn't him. I don't know how you.
Nah.
I've seen the Italian Stallion. You cannot mistake him for Dusty Rhodes. I'm sorry.
I mean, what are we looking at? Are we looking at a chicken leg or a chicken breast?
You can put anybody in a black onesie with a mask, but Dusty Rhodes is going to stick out like a sore thumb. The Italian Stallion,
Like,
not so much.
Sore thumb, 10 times out of 10. Yeah. Wow. Okay, Crockett. Whatever.
Plus, and now I want to find the video. I want to see if Stallion tried to work like Dusty. Is he throwing the bionic elbows? Is he shucking and jiving and all that?
Exactly.
So anyway, so Wyndham wins the tournament. Look at this guy. Now, I
A
mean,
badass.
dude, he so good. He could have easily been a world champion already by this point. This is
Yep.
1988,
Yep.
and but I I loved him with the Horsemen, but a part of me wished that he hadn't been with the Horsemen because then you would have got some real. I mean, you already had some classics he had with Flair before that, but even going forward, he just kept getting better and better by this point.
Exactly. Exactly.
So so he joins up with the Horsemen, wins the U.S. title, drops it back to Luger at Chi-Town Rumble '89, which is one of my favorite pay-per-views of all time. I love that show, and
Very good watch.
one of Luger's better matches. Honestly, maybe one of his best matches. I haven't watched it in a while. Actually, I went back uh, just to backpedal a little bit. I was just watching the '88 Great American Bash, and I saw the match with Wyndham and Dusty after Dusty had come back after he'd been reinstated. And that's the one where Ronnie Garvin took the payoff to knock Dusty on his ass.
Yeah.
And outside of that finish was so out of the blue. I just I didn't get it. But that might be my favorite U.S. title match. Is that one from the Bash? Just because of those two together, the story they were telling, the psychology at the wazoo, and nobody. And I'm gonna put my reputation on this, Bari. Nobody sold a bionic elbow better than James J. Dillon.
This is true.
He looked like he got hit with a fucking shotgun when he got hit with that elbow. Especially that specific match. He's like laying against the ropes, goes falls on his ass on the floor. It's beautiful. It's great to see. I love JJ.
Great
And
storyteller. Yeah.
so yeah, so when I had a 6 7 month run, I would say with the U.S. title, dropped it to Luger in that match in Chicago, and then Luger kind of went on just a roll with that title. He holds it,
Yeah.
well, except for one hiccup here in '89. Michael P.S.
Yeah, this
Hayes.
right here, yeah, with Michael Hayes. And when I was
Uh,
doing my research, I said, "What the fuck?" Michael Hayes was the United States champion.
at Wrestle War '89, is the night that Flair won the belt back from Steamboat in Nashville,
Okay,
and this
yeah,
was on the undercard because Michael Hayes was with Hiro Matsuda and the I forget the name of the corporation that took over for JJ because Hiro was managing Wyndham and Flair after JJ went to the WWF.
yeah, yeah, okay, yeah.
But it was not a great match. I mean, that match is going to pop up on my least favorite U.S. title matches later on. But I mean, at the end though, they both got kind of knocked each other silly. Hayes is out on his feet, leaning up against the ropes. Fucking Gordy runs out and look at in a pink shirt and a cowboy hat. This is not the Terry Gordy that I grew up with.
No, not at all.
And
This
he
is
just
not
runs.
Bam Bam.
No, he runs down, pushes Hayes down on top of Luger into a cover. Luger puts his foot on the rope because I watched this match like 3 days ago because I want to go back and watch his show again because mainly I wanted to see the Flair Steamboat match again. But then Luger puts his foot on the rope during the count, but Gordy knocked it off the ropes. So that's how Hayes got the belt. Didn't hold it very long. I think he held it maybe a month, if that.
Yeah,
I want to say. I'm gonna. That's the good thing about this book, Bari, is I've got all the information right here.
right there in the
I have.
palm of your hands.
Yes. Let's see. Uh, okay, they don't really mention much about Michael Hayes' his run. Basically, just the quote here: Michael Hayes and Stan Hansen would also hold the final Crockett belt in WCW in the subsequent months. That's kind of
Well,
not much to say about that. So Luger obviously gets the belt back from Hayes. Then he has his big run for almost over a year because
over here, yeah.
He did the heel turn in '89 with this at this point. Then he has a match with Steamboat at the Bash, Pillman at Halloween Havoc, uh, and then after that he goes to Starrcade in the Iron Man tournament, which Jim Herd at his best.
That
I think
tournament.
I think it was Jim Herd that booked that, but it wasn't Dusty,
That
that's
was
for
what
sure.
'89. That was
'89
the Future Shock.
Future Shock, yeah.
Yeah,
It was
God, poor
because it was a
Muda and
four.
poor Doom.
Yeah, because the Iron Man tournament was Flair, Luger, Sting, and Muta. Then the tag tournament was supposed to be the Skyscrapers, but I think Sid was hurt. Big shock. Uh, Road Warriors, Steiners, Samoans, and Doom.
Doom,
And
yeah. Orton.
I want to say, although now I got to go back and think because it might have been the Skyscrapers and Doom and the Samoans were out. I can't keep track of all this stuff
I
sometimes.
think it was. I think it was. The Samoans and Doom.
I'll have to go back and watch this. I got nothing going on this weekend. I can go back and watch all this shit.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna watch some of it too. Yeah, you
Yeah,
just reminded me.
yeah,
How. Yeah, I need to go back and see how horrible it was.
yeah. So yeah, so
Sting versus Flair wasn't too bad though. So
no, that was good. Sting and Muta is always good. You
yeah,
know, I'm not a big Sting fan, but him and Muta was just natural in the ring
yeah, they
together.
were.
They were
They
so
were.
good together. Uh, Plus, then also that was the night that they actually officially inducted Sting into the Horsemen, which
Yeah. Yep.
that always seemed really weird to me. I never got behind it when like back then. It didn't last long, obviously, because Sting won a title shot when he won that tournament, and then he wouldn't give it up because Flair was the champion, so they just beat the shit out of him.
And they beat him up on Clash of the Champions.
Yep, and then he tore his knee up and had to wait till the Bash to get his title shot. Because I
Yep.
guess he was supposed to win the belt at this was 90 at Wrestle or Capital Combat or Wrestle War, one of those two.
Capital. Yeah, one of them. Capital Combat. I think it may have been.
Yeah, not the one with RoboCop, the one before that.
Right.
Because I guess Flair had promised Sting the belt, and then he wouldn't drop it to Luger at the pay-per-view, and not he said it wasn't anything against Luger, but it's because he promised it to Sting, so they waited it out until Sting came back from his injury.
Exactly.
But how do we get to talking about the world title again? We did this 2 episodes ago. So Hayes has his cup of coffee with the U.S. title, drops it back to Luger. Luger has this huge run going into Halloween Havoc 1990, and who does he run into?
He runs into a damn lariat that took his damn head off.
Bad man from Borger, Texas. Stan
Exactly.
the Lariat Hansen. The reason I call my nephew the Lariat, his name's Stanley. So my brother and I, when he was, as soon as he was born, we called him the Lariat. That didn't stick. His wife didn't care for that, I don't think. But
Well,
yeah, so Hansen had Danny Spivey in his corner too. He was this young boy in All Japan. But yeah, it was kind of you don't expect a technical masterpiece out of Stan Hansen, nor do you want one.
no, you don't.
You just want to see him knock the shit out of somebody.
You want to see him get in there and spit chaw and knock the shit out of somebody with that damn lariat that he's just throwing. He's throwing it, and he's throwing it, and it's your responsibility to take it how you take it.
Well, he's blind as a bat.
Exactly.
He have his glasses on, so you're guessing where that arm's coming from. He's throwing that lariat. And the stuff he would do to that poor Missy Hyatt backstage at those pay-per-views. Oh
God,
my God.
he tortured her.
I blame Jim Herd for sending her into the locker room. Stan not going to take that shit. But
exactly. He's standing there in his tiny whities.
I think, yeah, he was in his tiny whities with chaw in his mouth and juice spreading down his after his shower. So he took a shower just to do that shit again. But Hansen only held the title for a couple months because he dropped it in Starrcade because he and Luger did the bull rope match.
Yeah.
All right up there on my least favorites. That I love Hansen and I liked the Halloween Havoc match. That Starrcade match was just piss poor. It was so bad. Luger was not made for bull rope matches.
No. A lot of gimmick matches are not made for Luger.
No. I mean, if you wanted to put, say, Arn Anderson in a bull rope match with Hansen, he could probably make it work back then.
Definitely.
Dustin Rhodes never really had any bull rope matches back then. But he's another guy.
Yeah, no, not back then.
He wasn't there at the time. He was about a year away. But anyway, so Luger wins the belt back. He holds it through until March 25th, 1991, when Nikita Koloff destroyed the belt on television. And we talked about this. We revere belt makers and the belts themselves. I hate when they destroy belts on TV.
Yeah, when you take a hammer tool and you destroy it.
It's the same way I felt about when like guys would hit people with guitars because I'm a guitar guy. I'm a musician, and I hate it when people break guitars, whether it's the Who or Honky Tonk Man or Jeff Jarrett. It just drives me nuts. And belt, it's very similar. It's like destroying art. It's like pissing on the Mona Lisa, And
exactly.
Now, I didn't see Nikita destroy the belt. I can't find the video on YouTube anywhere. Big shock. But so I don't know how he did it. But yeah, I guess he had come back to the NWA. He'd taken time off. I think his wife had passed away or something from cancer and took some time away. When he came back as a heel, which is the best Nikita, if you ask me. And yeah, he went right after Luger. He wanted his belt back. I guess he wanted, and it kind of led to a feud with Sting that led to a Russian chain match at the Bash later on that year in '91. But first, his feud was with Luger. And do you remember the Super Brawl tag match, the Steiners against Sting and Luger?
God, wasn't that match so good?
Oh, so good. But the finish was Nikita. He came out
Yeah.
with the chain. He was trying to knock out Luger, but Sting pushed him out of the way and took it instead.
Yep.
And then that led to the Sting Nikita feud. But yeah, the whole thing started with Luger. And then Nikita comes out, destroys the belt, and then we get the new Reggie Parks belt that they had from then till the end of WCW. So yeah, there's a lot to digest in just under 5 years for that title. Actually, just over 5
Right.
years.
Yeah.
So and yeah, you think about all these guys, and like I said, just 7 people held that title over 5 years. That's
That's
unheard
it.
of now.
Exactly.
You think about it, nowadays, they're dropping titles every other month sometimes.
Yep.
Roman and Gunther are the exceptions right now. Bianca held it for about a year, but other than that, I mean, they don't really put a whole lot behind the belts. I mean, Theory's getting a nice run with the U.S. title right now, but AEW, I mean, with the exception of Pockets, I mean, they tend to drop these belts every few months.
Yeah, especially those tag belts.
Yeah. Hopefully they give FTR a good run with them, but they got to get them some decent opposition. I have high hopes for Juice and Jay White going against them.
Gin and Juice.
Gin and Juice. Gin White, Juice Robinson. But I digress. Let me see here. Let's go on, because this full disclosure, we're both running on fumes right now, Bari, for our audience.
Definitely.
So we're gonna run through some particulars here. I don't have a list of greatest matches because honestly, my list of favorite matches pretty much qualifies for greatest matches. It would have been the same list both times, so I didn't do it this time.
Okay.
So let's go. So let's just stick with favorite and least favorite, Bari. Just make it. We'll go favorite matches first. If you don't mind, I will begin this time. I think you got to go first last time.
Go ahead.
Okay. Wyndham and Luger Chi-Town Rumble in '89 is my favorite. It's one of my. That one is up there with the one Wyndham had with Dusty at the Bash. Those are my two all absolute favorites. Like I said, I loved the Luger Hansen match at Halloween Havoc when it was just basically just Hansen knocking the shit out of Luger, taking his head off. One that doesn't get a whole lot of appreciation in my book is Luger and Brian Pillman from Halloween Havoc in '89.
Yeah, that was a banger right there.
That was Pillman's star-making performance in that match. And Luger made him look like $1 million too, which a lot of people might be surprised at. Luger back in those times had a pretty big ego about him. But taking this young guy that had just come into the company and giving him that might have, I didn't have a stopwatch when I watched it the last, but it might have been a 25-minute match.
Yeah.
And yeah, made it good, gave Pillman his hope spots, wound up getting the win. It was a strong win for Luger in that match. And then I couldn't pick just one, so I just put the best of 7, Nikita and Magnum. I mean, it's kind of one match if you think about it, because this is the story that they told. When Nikita goes up 3-0, then Magnum comes back, wins 3, and then Nikita wins number 7. It's just marvelous. All right, so that's my 5. Wyndham, Luger Hansen. There's a lot of duplicates as far as participants, just because there's only 7 guys that held the title.
Exactly.
Nikita. So give me tell me what you think, Bari. What were your favorite?
My favorite, right? My favorite with that particular title is probably going to be the very first match that I ever seen that was featuring that title, and it's going to be the Wyndham Rhodes match.
Nice.
Yeah, that was my very first time seeing this actual championship, and then Barry won, and I was a Barry Windham fan. So,
Yeah. I love Barry.
um, and I want to say I seen Luger and Mean Mark at a Clash of the Champions.
Great American Bash 1990.
Okay, yeah, there we
Yeah,
go. Yeah, I remember
I
that
remember
match.
that match.
Yeah, right before he left to go to WWF.
Yeah, when Ole told him he
Yeah,
wouldn't get over.
right, yeah, and that was a pretty good match too. And
Oh,
that's
Ole
really
Anderson.
oh Oli, you right, you old miserable bastard. Um, that's
Plus, Mean
really
Mark had Paul Lee too.
yeah, that's what I remember. And then if we want to skip ahead just a little bit,
Sure.
the Rude Sting feud was another one that I remember, but that's a different belt, you know.
That's a different
But
belt.
yeah,
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 that was awesome though. That was the feud that he should have had with the Ultimate Warrior,
exactly.
but he got the better Blade Runner this time.
Yep. So those are my top matches.
Okay. Now, where there is a favorite, there has to be some least favorites, Bari, and it was kind of hard for me to. First, there were a few that were obvious, but then after about three of them, it kind of hard to pick. So I'm kind of stretching a little bit. I've got the Luger Mean Mark match on there just because. I mean, you knew Luger was winning. I mean, and I liked Mean Mark back then. I liked when he was with the Skyscrapers when he went with the Road
Yeah,
Warriors. But
right.
but yeah, I mean, you could tell. I didn't watch this match till after he'd already come to WWF and started the Undertaker gimmick. But you watch him here, and you see a lot of Undertaker in him in this match. And thank the wrestling gods that he did not bring the heart punch with him to the WWF.
I think he used it very, very early on with his the Taker gimmick very early on, but that quickly got
Yeah,
abolished.
yeah. They just oh, we'll let Crush do that. You just do it. So I got that on there, but it's right on. It's kind of towing the line between good and bad, favorite and least favorite. Luger and Steamboat from '89. It was it should have been better than it was because it was a match where, and this is where it just the booking is so wonky. They had booked the match as a no DQ because Luger was always getting disqualified. Because this is when Luger was running heel, so he kept getting himself intentionally disqualified to keep his title. So the bookers, I don't forget who was booking. I think it was Hurd, but I don't know who. It was the booking committee. They said they're going to have a no DQ match, give Steamboat a shot. So Luger comes out for his match and says, "I'm not going to wrestle unless we waive the no DQ rule." It just raises a big
So
fuss about it.
convoluted.
And then and Steamboat, big baby face is like, "Fine, he says, fine, I'll do it." Yeah, I would have said, "Fuck you." There's a contract, but
Exactly. I
and then
signed this
what
damn
happens?
contract now. We're getting in here and we're right. We're doing the damn thing.
And then what happens? Luger gets DQ'd. I mean, you didn't see that coming, for Pete's sake. So yeah,
Right.
that's not one of my favorites. Give me a straight up one-on-one match with Luger and Steamboat. It probably would have been pretty damn good because of
Exactly.
Steamboat, and I love Steamboat.
Exactly.
Luger and
Exactly.
Hansen at Starcade, the bull rope match. We talked about it. Luger's not made for bull rope matches. Plus the finish was weird, if I remember right. I got to go back and watch that one again. Luger and Hayes at Wrestle War '89, the one where Hayes won the title from Luger. Because I haven't seen the rematch. I forget. I don't know where the rematch happened. But yeah, Michael Hayes was not the workhorse of the Fabulous Freebirds.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't. And so for him to win the United States Championship is just like,
It's like they
who
couldn't
did
have put
Luger
that
piss
on.
off that week?
Right. I, if he would have been Gordy, I would have been thrilled. If they could
Exactly.
have, if Gordy had been back
Minus the
in,
pink shirt.
yeah, minus the pink shirt. It's just weird to see with the cowboy hat because I love
Yeah, that
when,
too.
yeah. But I mean, we could eventually we'll do the WCW tag team titles, and we're going to talk about the Miracle Violence connection.
Oh
Gordy
yeah,
and
that'd be
Williams.
fun. Gordy and
Yeah,
Williams, yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Maybe the baddest tag team not named the Steiners in the history of wrestling. But and then another one that we didn't really mention, Wyndham and Bam Bam Bigelow at Starrcade '88. It's just not great. I expected better out of those two. Now this is young Bam Bam. This is right after his WWF run when he went to Survivor Series with Hogan,
Right.
and he came in. He had Oliver Humperdinck with him. The big Kahuna, and yeah, and I mean it was good for the first few minutes, but then after a while it just kind of started just kind of meandering a little bit. It was kind of disconnected a little bit. And Bam Bam wasn't ever. I think that was his only pay-per-view match. I think until like '90.
It sounds about right. Yeah.
I guess he was. I would imagine he was going to Japan after that in '89. I think that's when he started working like Vader and all those guys over there. But yeah, I love Bam Bam. I mean, I could talk about Bam Bam all day. He was so good.
Yeah, yeah. He was a hell of an athlete.
Yeah, and eventually we'll talk about the ECW World Title from '97 because that's the one he held when he beat the franchise. But that's for another episode. So those are my least favorites. I'm gonna kind of throw a curveball at you, Bari, and ask you this: who would you have liked to see hold that belt outside of the
Who
7
would
guys?
Huh?
Like outside of the guys that had it, who do you think could have represented that belt well?
I mean, at that time, looking at this list,
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to probably say, I think maybe Arn Anderson probably could have had a good run as United States champion.
Right. I was also
Yeah,
surprised he
why
never
not?
held that belt.
Yeah,
As
me
much as
too. Me too.
uh, I think Sting is an obvious choice because he didn't get that belt, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh,
He didn't get that belt. Yeah,
right. I think Steamboat. I could have seen them putting the belt on Steamboat in '89 after he dropped the world title.
yeah. It would have
But
worked.
yeah. Heel wise, I mean, Luger was a strong heel when he had it in '89. Nikita was a strong heel when he had it in '86. You could have gone Varsity Club with it, put it on like
Yeah,
a Sullivan or maybe a Steve Williams back in like late '88. Uh,
very true.
I'll tell you who I would have. Who I mean, in hindsight, back then I wouldn't have thought this. What about Big Bubba, Boss
Yeah,
Man?
Bubba with the United States champ. Yeah, and let him fucking run and yeah, that would have been
Just
great.
be that monster heel. He could have been a huge star if he would have had a little more time. He was still green as grass when he was working with Corny. Like,
Hmm.
but if he would have come back, if Vince would have just fucked it up and let him go, and he came back, I could have seen it. But
Definitely.
yeah. So and then obviously you talk about like your Midnight Express, Beautiful Bobby, guys like that. Uh, but yeah, there's the singles like main event picture in the NWA back in the late '80s was not thick. It was not a deep roster really. It was almost more of a tag team territory really.
It was. Yeah.
I mean, you look at it, you got Road Warriors, Midnights, Rock and Roll, Horsemen, uh, Doom, Steiners. Did I say Steiners twice? I may have. Uh,
Well, they're just that
uh,
damn good.
yeah, Samoans, Skyscraper. So many great tag teams, but then you talk about your main event singles guys is Flair, Luger, Sting, Muta, Steamboat. And that's about it.
That was it.
I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, and I'll hear about it. But you get what I'm coming from. It's like when you have Sting and Flair going for the world title, and Sting and Luger or Flair and Luger, uh, then you have Muta with the TV title. It's kind of they don't have a whole lot left for the U.S. title picture.
Not a lot of depth anyway.
Right. So yeah, it's just something I think, and I love the belt. It's like I said, they only had it for 5 years. It should have. It should have. I wish it would have lasted longer. As much as I love the one that came after it, I wish it would have been it longer. But I think the big problem was Turner had bought the NWA, and and like, NWA is all over that fucking belt. So
Hmm.
that was probably a
Let's
big
get a
part of
new.
why. That's
Let's
probably a
get a
big part
new
of why they got
wrestling
rid.
belt. That right.
Yeah.
That belt says NWA on it. That doesn't say WCW.
right?
Let's get us a new wrestling belt.
Hey, Reggie, make me another belt.
Right.
Reggie don't care. He's cashing the checks, you know.
Exactly. I'll make you 1,000 as long as you pay me.
Right. Pretty much. All right. The last thing we usually do, Bari, top five to hold the belt, and it's kind of weird making a top five when there's only seven guys that held it. So it's it's like with me, I say obviously number one is Luger.
Luger, yeah.
Held it for the most, and he was really the guy that most synonymous with it after Nikita. Nikita's my number two, then Wyndham, then Dusty and Magnum, just because they didn't hold it for very long, but you know, just the Dusty holding any belt's going to raise the prestige of it. And Magnum would have had a longer run, I think. If well, maybe he might have had a run with the world title if he hadn't got hurt.
Exactly.
But so yeah, so that's my five. I imagine yours is probably not too different because I mean the only two guys that didn't make it on here were Hanson and Hayes.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I got the exact same top five.
Yeah, see, man, we're rolling like a Switch watch today, Bari. See, that's the thing. The belts we had before, the big gold belt was 15 or so years of history. The Winged Eagle was about 10. This is 5, so we have a whole
That's
lot
it. Yeah.
more stuff to condense with it.
Didn't have
But
enough, but within those 5 years, there was plenty of meat and potatoes.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. And but yeah, like I said, man, this I love the big gold belt. I love the silver television title, which we'll get to in a future episode. But this one, along with this one, uh, this is my version of the NWA Tag Team Championship that I got, which is fucking great. This one in the U.S., that U.S. title, the Gold Eagle title, are probably my two favorites out of the NWA in that period. And eventually we'll have to tackle this one here at some point.
Definitely, definitely. She's a beauty too.
Yeah, I even sprung for the blue strap like the original one. Shout out to ISK Customs and overseas. They do really good work. They've done a few belts for me. They did my Ring of Honor tag team belt, the Briscoe belt, the one that Mark was carrying around before the Lucha Brothers won the tag titles. So they do good belts. I love tag team title belts.
Right.
That's my
That's
I'm a tag
awesome.
team guy. I've always been a fan. So we're just about finished up here, Bari. I think since you got to pick this one, I think I'm going to pick the next one for the episode in
Yes,
2 weeks'
yes.
time.
I
I'm gonna
picked this
go
one. You picked the next one.
right. So we kind of gotten into a rhythm. NWA, WWF, NWA. I'm gonna kind of zigzag. I'm gonna go ECW on the next episode,
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm gonna go with the ECW World Heavyweight Championship that they had starting in 1999, the Taz belt.
Okay. Okay, yeah, the Taz.
Basically went 99 to 01 and then 06 to 08 because they brought it back when they did the
Ooh.
WWE ECW. Yeah, I know.
06 to 08. Ooh.
We have to kind of talk about it, but
Yeah, I
the
know, I know.
but
It'll be
man,
fun. It'll be fun.
but the OG ECW when that was it was some good business. Uh,
Yeah,
a lot to
definitely.
talk about too as far as title changes because Paulie liked to shuffle things around a lot.
Oh, yes, he did. So yes, this next one shall be fun.
Oh yeah, it'll be a hoot. Before we go, I want to pay the bills a little bit. ProWrestlingTees.com/JTRPod for the stuff, t-shirts for the Jumping the Rail podcast for the 01 Shootout. Eventually, I'm going to get some stuff for this show on there too. It's kind of pulling teeth sometimes getting those guys to approve designs here and there. So go check that out. Go to brainbustertees.com/other/JTR-podcast-network to get some more stuff. You get t-shirts, hoodies, stickers, fanny packs, hats, stuff like that. And then yeah, coming up, like we said, this coming Tuesday on the Jumping the Rail podcast, we're going to be doing our tribute to the Iron Sheik for the whole episode. I think are you going to join us for that one, Bari? You going to
I'm
make
gonna
it?
try. I'm gonna try to work my work schedule out to where I can join you guys.
Okay, well, hopefully you can make it. If not, I'm sure you'll jump in the chat when you can. Uh, but yeah, it's just going to be like an hour and a half, just all Sheik talk. You know, we're not going to get into
Okay.
anything we saw on TV this week. Maybe that's a blessing. If you talk about what we saw
Right?
in Tony Town,
God.
ugh,
Shh.
Florida Tony's
Burn
All
my
Elite Flying
eyes.
Circus. But yeah, so we got that going. If you're a fan of 01 USA in Central Illinois on Wednesday, 01 Shootout, we will have Devontae Knox joining us. Uh, Second time he'll be on the show with us. He's got a lot to talk about. He's holding a guaranteed title shot in a briefcase right now, so we'll have to kind of pick his brain, see what he's got in mind for that. So join us on Wednesday on Facebook Live on the Jumping the Rail or 01 Shootout Facebook page, and also on YouTube on this page. And yeah, then like I said, in 2 weeks we will have another shootout, 01 Shootout, and then we'll also have the next episode of Gold Rush, talk about the little ECW. Bari, you got anything you want to add about the Gold Eagle real quick before we say goodbye?
If you haven't had a chance to take a look at the damn thing, go
Oh, they're
Google
gonna,
the image
they're
and
gonna look at it. There it
look
is.
at there.
It's
Blow it
awesome.
up and look at it right and look at it twice a day and your life will be better.
Yeah, this is the first episode we've done with a belt that one of us does not own, and
Yeah,
it's a
no.
shame because it's the one that's been at the top of my list for years, but I just haven't gotten the chance to get it.
Exactly. And you don't want to
But
find some poorly made bootleg, so
no, you can get some good stuff out there. I wish Fandu would have made one, but
right, yeah.
they never did. Uh, that one in the Western States Heritage Championship, which hopefully at the
Yeah, that one
Expo
too,
next year
yeah.
they'll have that one. That one would be a short episode because only two guys held it, Wyndham and
That's it.
Nabisco. We may have to do an episode with like a handful of those belts that only had like one or two guys hold them, and just kind of do a montage. I will not include the WWF Big Green Belt though, because that deserves its own episode between Backlund, Hogan, and the Sheik. But that'll be sometime in the future. I got a whole list of episodes I'd love to do, and I'm sure you do too, Bari.
Yeah, I
But
do too. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but we will get to that on another day because it is time to bid adieu here. So we will see you guys in 2 weeks on the Gold Rush. Hopefully, we'll see you guys on Tuesday for Jumping the Rail. So for my buddy Bari, this is Redmond. Remind you all, life is hard, work stiff, and we will see you in a couple weeks.